You're gonna tell the feds everything I want them to know, and you're gonna get everything from them that I want.
And we're gonna do it in a way that doesn't get back to Tommy.
If you don't know me, they will kill me.
In between two devils,
Flynn's always find a way.
Call your boss.
Now, this was episode 2's preview, which is something I was waiting for Starz to drop so we could do our usual trailer breakdowns. After episode 1 they released the season trailer, but now that they've got that out the way, I do assume going forward we will get the episode trailers for the following episode. And it's a time where things are going to be starting to heat up in terms of the chess game between Tommy and law enforcement. He's going to have Vic do his dirty work for him and the CBI, but will Vic have a counter move after his conversation with Beth? There's also the whole situation around D-Mac. Diamond hasn't changed his mind in terms of taking him off the map. Claudia is also playing a very dangerous game by having Elise involved in this particular world, but she's probably the only person she can actually turn to and probably trust. And finally, this is what I believe is Tommy retaliating against the Marquez cartel from the failed hit on him and Shanti in episode 1. So a few conversations and scenes to unpack, and as usual, I will be bringing in a few extra scenes from teasers and trailers that do match up to all things Power Book 4 Force Season 3 Episode 2. Now the title of episode 2 is A Seat at the Table, and the synopsis reads, Tommy's ambition sets him on a dangerous path, testing his alliances and endangering those closest to him. Now interestingly, when Starz uploaded this on YouTube, they had the caption, The Flynns gotta go. And I have a feeling that's something that Tommy will actually say in episode 2, both the Flynns have to go eventually, Vic is a snitch, and with Claudia, well, we all know what she is. I wouldn't say she's a rat or a snitch, but she definitely is a snake who will turn on you in a heartbeat. If she was presented a deal that involved her freedom in exchange for maybe snitching on the Serbians or Tommy Egan, best believe she's taking that deal. But let's get into the start of the trailer, which is actually with Vic Flynn, and then we'll come to Claudia a bit later on.
You're gonna tell the feds everything I want them to know, and you're gonna get everything from them that I want.
Now we hear Tommy telling Vic that he's going to tell the feds everything that Tommy wants them to know, and he's going to get everything from the feds that Tommy also wants to know. We've also got Diamond grabbing Vic and drowning him, which I do think Vic should consider himself very lucky with. I believe it was in my episode 1 breakdown where I made reference to Tommy burning someone who tried to hit their product in season 1. He's thrown people off a roof and a lot more. If Tommy really wanted to cause Vic some real pain, I'm sure he'd have no problem in doing so. The thing is with this situation, Tommy actually feels like Vic is probably more useful alive and well than cooked medium rare or thrown off a roof with bubble wrap. He wants Vic to be his inside man and give him everything that he has on Stacy Marks, the task force and also their case, and also tell them everything that Tommy wants them to know as well. Now what Vic can tell him about Stacy Marks, her task force and their investigation, at this moment in time, who knows? The problem that Vic has is Stacy Marks is always moving the goalposts, and I expect her to continue to do so in episode 2, 3 and the rest. But that's Tommy's plan for Vic. Send law enforcement some false information, send them down the wrong direction, keep them off his tail, and also probably mess with Stacy Marks at the same time, depending on what information Vic can find and also give.
in between two devils,
Flynn's always find a way.
Now Vic definitely finds himself in a very difficult position at this moment. In my episode 1 breakdown, I said he was trapped. On one side he had Stacy Marks and law enforcement, and on the other hand he had Tommy Egan. But the way Vic Flynn put it to Beth is that he's in between two devils, which is true. As I mentioned before, Stacy Marks will continue moving the goalposts. She's going to continue using Vic to get what she wants, and that's convictions for Claudia Flynn and Roberto Ortega of the Marquez cartel. But she also wants to wrap up this arrest for Tommy Egan within this RICO as well, before she then makes the play for the mayor's office. For Tommy, I do actually think there's going to be a twist in the long term. I do have a feeling that Vic will actually be able to turn things around, and he is also here having a conversation with Beth again. Beth mentions to Vic, Flynn's will always find a way, and I do think Vic will. It has been teased by Gary Lennon that this story involving Vic will have a lot of twists and turns and things we don't expect. And even though snitches normally are killed off in power and should be killed off, I just have a gut feeling with this one it might be different. And that's based on the conversations and interviews from Gary Lennon and Joseph Sikora that they did pre-season 3. Now in terms of Beth, something to keep in mind is the envelope that Vic left her in episode 1. That apparently has all the details that would put everybody away. I'm sure that will come back around at some point later on in season 3, whether it's in the first half. I think it's something that will probably come back later on, maybe towards the back end of season 3, but definitely something to keep in mind. But moving on to the situation with D-Mac.
We're gonna handle D-Mac, and we're gonna do it in a way that doesn't get back to Tommy.
Now with D-Mac, we know Diamond already gave the go-ahead to Jannar to take him off the map, but make sure it doesn't look like a CBI hit. For whatever reason, which I do believe is probably because of Shanti's plan, Jenard will let him go. Because they did also release another exclusive clip for episode 2 between Tommy and D-Mac. Tommy goes over to Marshall's, finds D-Mac hiding in a cupboard, and tells him, for as long as he's in the CBI, D-Mac is out. So we already know D-Mac will be let go by Jenard, most likely because of his and Shanti's plan, but now we've got Diamond saying they're going to have to handle D-Mac. They're going to do it in a way that doesn't get back to Tommy. And I really do have to say, Diamond is moving quite wild. For him to make this call behind Tommy's back, this is the sort of shit that would create a war with Tommy, and that's definitely not what the CBI and Diamond want. They may have the numbers, they may have the soldiers, but that won't faze Tommy one bit. Probably may mean he has to pick up the phone to Tariq a bit later on in the season when he is kind of up against Diamond, the CBI, and he is a lone wolf. But we are too far from what happens in the second half or in episode 9 and 10, which is where I do predict where we'll probably see Tariq show up in Chicago. In terms of the D-Mac situation, it does seem like Diamond's made his mind up. Get rid of the problems so they don't have to deal with King Kilo and the RDs. Now the problem I actually have with this is, Diamond was going to get rid of Mad Dog anyway. That was even after he found out he was King Kilo's nephew. I guess the difference is, he probably would have made it look like a hit that was from a different crew, a rival crew, and something that probably doesn't come back to the CBI. Whereas D-Mac's hit looks like a CBI hit. But what they do with D-Mac, let's see what move they make next. Let's wait and see. Now just on that exclusive between Tommy and D-Mac, I have already created another breakdown discussing the whole situation with Tommy and D-Mac, the complexities, the involvement of Diamond, Jenard, Shanti, and also King Kilo. I do also go through a few examples and how we've seen similar moves from around the Power universe with other characters like a young Kanan when he killed Buck 20, the consequences he had to face, how it's very similar to the situation with D-Mac, and how D-Mac could find himself in a very similar position where he probably needs to lose loved ones close to him to teach him a lesson. But I will now drop that video for tomorrow. With that being said, let's move on to Claudia Flynn and Elise.
If you don't help me, they will kill me.
You're more like Claudia than I thought. At this pace, you'll both be in the morgue soon.
Now we've got Elise coming to see Claudia again, where Claudia warns that if she doesn't help, then they will kill her. Who she's talking about is probably the Marquez cartel. We saw what they did to Merkovich, Claudia knows what they did as well, and that's what she fears. For now, she's safe, which I'm not too sure why, if I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm not sure what she actually brings to the table that Merkovich didn't. Merkovich actually bought territory, he had crews that were working for him. But the one thing I do know is, you never underestimate someone like Claudia Flynn. She did also do an interview with Nigeria from Big Goldbelt Media, which I will leave the link to down below in the description section. And in that interview they did mention Tommy will even acknowledge that Claudia is the baddest Flynn. There's still some respect between the two. But involving Elise in this world and having her go to see Shanti for whatever reason Claudia has, involving her in the game that she's in, that's a very dangerous move. The same as I said for D-Mac, how he'll probably need to lose loved ones to really learn his lesson. Same goes for Claudia. Elise will probably be caught in the middle of this game, and it is going to be because of Claudia, which is exactly what Shanti warns. Both of them are going to end up in the morgue. Now this scene I did go back to check the official trailer because I did remember Shanti smashing someone on the lockers. It looked very similar and I did actually think, could it be Elise? It doesn't seem like it's Elise because she's wearing something different, but Shanti does have that same blue dress on. So we are going to see her get into some sort of tussle in episode 2, which again, won't be with Elise. Not sure who it's with, but something to keep in mind. We will be seeing Shanti in action. But over to the last scene with Tommy and Diamond making their move.
Call your boss.
If I do this, I'm a dead man.
You 100% dead if you don't.
Now we've got Tommy and Diamond holding someone at gunpoint here, who I personally believe could be someone who works for the Marquez cartel. That's because of the failed hit on him and Shanti towards the end of episode 1. There's no way they don't retaliate because Tommy has to make a move, otherwise the Marquez cartel are just going to keep on coming for them. Claudia is a problem, the Marquez cartel are a problem, and we already know from the official trailer that the CBI will be in a war with the Marquez cartel. That's what Stacey Mark says in the official trailer. So I do think we might just be seeing the beginning and the foundation for that, which was actually already set at the end of season 2 when Tommy and Shanti set them up. Now it's just a boxing match and them throwing punches at each other until there's only one left. Now what I would say is, if Tommy's going up against the Marquez cartel, he better have a good plan. Because as Joseph Sikora said in an interview, he's going to have 1,000,001 issues firing at him from all sorts of directions. So I really do hope he has a plan. Because behind him, Diamond's making moves against D-Mac, Shanti's plotting against him, you got the Marquez cartel against him, Claudia Flynn will want revenge, Vic Flynn, you don't know what Vic Flynn is up to as well. So he definitely has a lot of issues to deal with. But that's a breakdown for the trailer for episode 2. I personally thought it was a great start to season 3. Gary Leonard's done a great job in turning things around after season 1, and I can definitely see the vision that he has for the rest of the show. So let's see what they've got up their sleeves for episode 2. Drop all your thoughts and predictions down below in the comment section, and as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.